This is a quick run through of what and how the RAG model can be used with the help of Python and could be dealt in a local system. So let me get started with the VS Code or what we have done on the code wise. So there are multiple aspects that is being covered as part of the code. So you need, because it's a RAG model, you need to have a database setup and the particular set of documents that needs to be accessed to convert into vector and put it in database. So there are multiple applications as you see here, but still I'll say that this is more of a technical aspect or coding aspect, but the core aspect is the understanding is or the point of view that we are trying to create in this MVP is from the set of PDF documents that we have clearly showcased. So we have a set of two PDF documents. We call it as, I mean, this is not readable in code, but still we have one called RESD, just as name, but it is a PDF document. And one more is a SDP called Streamline Delivery Sessions Resolution PDF. So these are the documents that has been uploaded into the vector database and with the help of the local system. So currently we are using majorly two document or the model that we currently trying to use for the vector database and for the retrieval and the loader is called the Llama. So we have used open source model called Llama 3.2 in the local Python program, and based on the Llama, we are trying to write a prompt like what is the this is more of a system prompt saying that okay what exactly does and what it can do, and the context is more of what the data is already there. So it's a combination of context and the query what you give and the prompt that is already a system prompt which is provided what it has to do based on the context and query provided. So combination of these three with the help of Llama 3.2 will create a response and that will be provided. So let me get this started. So just to understand how it runs in local. Once the code is set up, everything looks good. What you can try to do is you can just remove the terminal and just start a new set of programs. So um, so there is this minor UI built based on Python, and with the help of minor UI, which is easy rather than using a CLI command interface, try to use this in a better way. So after running this, it creates a local host server and it creates a better running of things. So let me showcase that. So once you see this particular code running here, so you have this particular set of things showcasing what is local URL, but when it actually comes to the portal, so this is how this streamline would look. You could see, like for example, you're not able to see, but let me do this. Okay, this is loaded. So once you have the code loaded, this is how the UI looks like. It's a basic UI built on Streamlit. So currently it has a bit of clear chat and UI to submit questions and just a basic UI. So and for the reference documents, for example, the reference document to showcase it. Okay, so let me show that also. So this is a set of documents that I built. It's a mock data, but still it talks about the project. It talks about the business. It talks about the insight, challenges, problem statement, challenges, details, and a decent bit of details that uh, a project document would look like, and giving about what are the outcomes. It could be qualitative, quantitative, and these are the set of information that the document has, and these data are converted into the vector tokens and has been stored in the vector database. And with the help of this particular code that is built or the application which is built on the web or on the local is able to retrieve that data as this data things and give us the data. For example, there are, let me put this. So let me give a context. What are these? So if you go to the document, so there is a set of information that talks about the personas. So it talks about there is three personas, there is basic, functional, elderly tech, and there are multiple aspects that this persona will look at. So what I'll try to do is I'll just see how much of in output that I can get based on the input I give. So I just give what are the personas in this project that's being considered. So let me submit it. It takes some time with just your basic animation giving an after it gives it's running. And it takes some time because it's a local Llama 3.2 running at the local server at my system. So it takes a decent time to take that input, break it out and get retrieve the data from the database and just get that answer right. But the perspective or the approach is yes, if we have a decent good set of documents built and it is already stored and with the strong infrastructure, if we have, it is able to give you the output. Like as you can see now that this was the questions I asked and like it clearly says okay there is a context. What was the context? The context is what we have the database and based on the database that we had, this was the question asked and the personas that we have for this project. They are professional, elderly customer, tech savvy shopper, and these are agent personas, different type of personas. So, but if you track back to the PDF source that we had created, the mock data we created. So we had this business professional, elderly customer, tech savvy, and everything, and we also had the customer agent, and so we had a decent bit of data reverse tracking where we are able to get the data out of the document and say okay based on the questions we give we get. So for example I can ask build a persona requirement for the list why. So the current capability of this application is very limited, so it's running local and the context provider is very subtle or very limited. Sometimes it can say that okay, I'm not getting what you're saying, or probably the required information is not there. It generally ends up with giving one or two lines of what it would look like, or it will say I don't have the required contact to provide details. So it is limited, but it's more of a point of view or an MVP that we could be considered okay. If we are building something at a smaller scale, this is the direction we look at, and then scale it up into more accessible, more data, a different variety of data, and different models to use so that the quality of the response could enhance and also there could be a reasoning built in. So if you are asking for a specific type of output or you require a exportable output, so those could be handled in the scalable or in the coming up plans. But this is currently to show how a Python program, a basic Python program from the VS Code with help of couple of aspects like so for example, this is again just to showcase what it has come through. So it gave me the different personas and giving what they look like and just a random, not very, it's not very random, but still it gives to a point answer to an extent because of the capability of the Llama running in my system. It gives a decent, it takes a decent time in getting the input, building up the response, generating the content, and then putting back to the screen. So it takes a bit of time. You need to be relaxed and sit. So with the better infrastructure, the better the speed, as I said. So that's where the idea of the localhost comes in. And just to run through the code once again quickly. just showcasing a couple of things is about, yes, we can use the localhost. We are using Llama 3.2. Then the point, the critical aspect, what we would say is, so these are the set of probably the packages we would require. So Streamlit is the UI part of this interface, whatever you see in the input field, the chat history, those are these are the part of Streamlit package. FASIS is a Facebook AI similarity search. It's a vector database that is put sentence transformers and Python PDF, yeah, and Python docs is more of how the document can be loaded, read, broken into pieces, and then put into vector database. Those are the aspect that these couple of things looked into. And finally, the request is more of when you're local hosting it and are using API based service rather than, because it's a UI that you have created, not a CLI command system. So that request is more of it. How does the request work between the Python program and the client or the portal? So those are the aspects that is being covered in the request. Now, getting into a one step ahead of saying, okay, now we are done with local. Can we deploy it? So there is an idea, or you could say, for example, once we have this, so the particular UI as or the particular platform got Streamlit has a capability to deploy it. For example, if you see me down here, there's an option called deploy. So you can deploy it and say, okay, boss, I'm good with this code. I'll have to try it out. Let me deploy it and see whether it can't work on local. So with the capability of deployment, we'll have to configure the GitHub for whatever it requires and things like that. And at the end of the day, I did try working on it and I was able to deploy it at just created a GitHub repository, updated the code, and there is a minor difference between a local host running and a deployed server or a deployed half running. The difference is when the local system was built, it ran on my CPU and it was able to use my in on that is on premise or on my system what Llama 3.2 was running. It was able to use it and then use it for creating generative response. But when you're putting it on a server or when you're putting it public, it is not capable enough to use the on-premise Llama, especially the whole Llama or Llama 3.2. It is capable, but it is not easily configurable, easy as such. So I had to do a minor tweaks where instead of using Llama 3.2, I tried to use an OpenAI code here. So with the API keys available, so minor tweaks in the code based on which system to use, but major of the code or the functionality would remain same. So let me run through this. Like, for example, let me take the same question. So let me copy this and let me put it here. The response are much quicker than compared to Llama for a couple of reasons, because it's online and it is a OpenAI system built. So it gives a better, the faster response in terms of the latency is concerned. And then let me put the same let it build the persona, which is it. So if you can see, this is running on a separate URL and which is an application URL from Streamlit. So let me run through this. So if you can see the time it takes to give an input and the response time for the output is faster. And yes, you see this issue sometimes for a reason. As I said, okay, sometimes once the responsives provided and there is no enough infrastructure to store the memory and make sure that it is referencing back the thing. So there could be scenarios you get this if you are running it on the public link, but here the code is bit streamlined and there is enough bit of memory allowed to run it. So this is currently not configured to that extent to make sure that we get the required thing. But if you are a decent set of input that you want, you can club it together and provide it. It gives to an extent a decent output, but still it it is a very hard or a complex to do at a MVP level. But what again, to reiterate the purpose of this MVP or this showcases to that we are capable of doing at the smallest part, just using just ChatGPT with a basic code knowledge, with a basic knowledge of how to deploy, how to get that repository. But if we want to build something scalable, big enough, and which can take in a lot of lot of documents, types of documents, and have a memory to look into what you have cost asked and take the reference of that, then build a question. Then it is more of technical, and you need a bit better infrastructure and a better architecture build. But to an extent, this is what we could achieve at the basic level, and it proves a decent output generation. Yes, the online is bit uh, trickier now because the code is not optimized to store the input and then I mean, it allows multi-input, but it does not store the input what we have previously questioned. But what happens in our local host or the in-house local host have, so there is a code which tweaks in and says, okay, keep that particular data or the particular the input or the request that you have put, it stays in somewhere for some time in the client, and that is used and the local tool reference it back and get the details like you see. So it's very useful, and yes, it's a aspect that we could see through and see, okay, with the help of more technical team and better infrastructure, probably we can have a better output created. And yeah, I think that's what I wanted to showcase there and make sure that, okay, this is where we stand up now. If we have enough tech support and the infrastructure that we could build on own, yes, we are able to build at least to some extent of an AI tool that we could use as an in-house AI tool. And as it is scaled up, more type of documents is can look into it, the responses we could based on infrastructure that we have. I think we should be able to achieve something we think of, and I think that is a strong or a positive thing that we can look into. So let me close for this. I think it's pretty long for now. So let me close it. Let me know if you have any questions on this. Let's see how we can go about it. Thank you, everyone.